The Predator films have had quite a long history, and it's definitely an inconsistent franchise to say the least. The original film, directed by John McTiernan and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, is a classic that holds up even today. I also rewatched Predators from Robert Rodriguez's production company, Troublemaker Studios, and geez, this movie is really stupid. It's directed by a Nimrod. No, really, it's literally directed by Nimrod Antal. The writing is corny and predictable, the characters are bad despite good actors in the roles. The comedic parts of that movie don't work, which is a shame because the original Predator is pretty funny at times. A trademark of all the weaker Predator movies, also just bad monster movies in general, is that they focus too much on the creature, which really isn't that interesting. The Predator looks cool, but ultimately the monster in a monster movie is just a device to keep the story moving. The more you focus on the creature, not only does the creature lose its intimidation factor, it also makes the movie rather dull. What worked about the original Predator, and even films like Jaws, are the main characters are interesting. Without good characters, or the other elements that make a film like this work, it just becomes hollow, which is the very reason why the Alien vs. Predator movies are so freaking terrible. Those films exist purely for iconography. Isn't the Predator so cool? Well, the Predator was cool when he was in a good movie. I haven't seen the Shane Black directed one, and honestly that looks really embarrassing, especially since he starred in the original Predator. Now, to talk about Prey, this was a breath of fresh air for this franchise, and I actually enjoyed this film. It felt unique. It doesn't just take moments from the original film and copy them. The original was an influence, but the story was different enough to where you don't feel like you're just watching another Predator movie. It's far more back to basics, and I don't need to give much away, but it was a very simple story told well. The setting was one of the most interesting things about this film. The decision to set it in the early 18th century and focusing on the Comanche tribe was really great. The main cast is made up of Native American actors, or American Indians, whatever term you prefer. And yeah, the characters are far less annoying in this movie than in Predators. They were all necessary, and even the dog was useful in the story, which is awesome. They didn't throw in a cute dog just because they could. At times, the VFX in this film were kind of iffy, particularly on the lion and the bear, although there were plenty of good VFX as well. That might be mainly due to budgetary limitations, as I'm not sure what the budget of this film was. As I was saying, the Predator is in this film, but he's not the focus. There are many other things going on. The pacing for this film is excellent, and when it was over, I was like, that really flew by. The film is an hour and 40 minutes, but it felt so much shorter than it was. To compare, the film Morbius was almost the same length, and I felt like I was in that theater for 3 freaking hours. I also think there's a good conversation to be had about the release of this film. While I did think this was a good movie, I understand why it wasn't released theatrically. That doesn't affect my rating for this film, but Prey has no recognizable stars other than the Predator itself, and like I said, the special effects seemed a bit limited by the budget. I think watching it at home probably made them less distracting. This is a good film. Clearly a lot of thought went into it, and the director doesn't seem to mind too much that it was released on Hulu. Not much else to say aside from it's an enjoyable and tasteful film, with plenty of gore and action to keep fans of the original Predator satisfied. Honestly, this is the best Predator film to be made, probably since the original Predator, and I give it an 8. Thanks for watching.